Come on, man.
Ants! Ants!
Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday!
Which means a couple different things. We get you ready for the weekend. We get you ready for everything going on overseas. It's the last week of the regular season in the Premier League. There's a bunch of news this morning over there. We'll go through all of the matchups in MLS. We'll talk you through Atlanta United and FC Cincinnati. If you missed the conversation with Laurel Failer yesterday, there's that. And we'll also talk about ants and breakfast food. So that might be opening kickoff, and it might start hour number 2. That might be my rant for the morning. You know, it's like you sit there and you're getting everything all prepped. And then you sit there and you're looking for your breakfast food. And then because it's late May, ants have decided to work their way into your kitchen. And so we got that this morning. That was fun. So I had to reorient my breakfast plans. But anyway, we also have guests and things. And officially, because of announcements that happened yesterday, we are wasting no time. See, I'm postponing my rant about breakfast food in general, because we got to talk about the men's national team and what's going to happen in June. Bart Keeler dropping by. So, hi.
Okay, let's make sure everything works.
It does.
All right, we bought a new microphone to hopefully mitigate all the problems we've been having.
Okay.
An actual standalone microphone, John.
Oh, wow. And you have your breathe-a-lot. So
the breathing has been not breathing recently. It happens when we have changing weather like this, so.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Can you come back and lead off hour number 2?
I can do that.
That'd be fantastic, because we actually had a guest crash, unless you'd like to have
All right.
FC.
Shall
All right, there goes Bart. So, Bart, that's part of your cameo for the morning. And so now we get to catch up with ownership groups in Chattanooga FC and find out what's going on there, because there's some really cool stuff. So, what up, Hayes?
Hey, it's Davis. How are you doing?
Oh, sorry, Davis. My bad. It's it's like I'm sitting here trying to see what's going on. So Hayes Creech, our buddy up in Chattanooga, has dropped in owners and things, and it's because of an announcement that was made, and we wanted to talk to you about it. And Davis, we thought this was really cool. And for folks that may not know, what you have decided to do is something very, very cool when it comes to the growth of the program in general. So for folks that might have missed out on the announcement, let everybody know what is going on with Dave, what is going on with Chattanooga FC and everything that is going on up there, David. So what's the latest, which we thought we needed to talk about?
Yeah, so we've decided to take our MLS Next programs, which is really our elite soccer academy, and have them be fully funded. And so there will be no expenses from the players that they have to pay, the parents that have to pay to have their players join that academy. We felt that was just really important for the soccer community. I feel like soccer has become a big pay-to-play model, and I think that's one of the big issues with U.S. soccer, and one of the big reasons why the U.S. isn't as competitive as they are on the international stage is because it just limits so much access to players, and players don't have the ability to really do that. And so we decided to take that away and hopefully allow the best players to truly get the best coaches and get the best environments, and hopefully it just grows the game even more.
So you mentioned this particular element attached to the franchise. How much thought went into this? Was it a no-brainer for you, Davis, when you were laying everything out, where it's like, yeah, this is something that we really do need to do? Or how much thought went into this idea about, yeah, this is something that needs to happen?
I mean, I think with every decision, you're going to take some time and really weigh the pros, the cons, and what it looks like. And it is so different. Not a lot of other clubs really, support this model and support what it is. But if I really look back at what my family's about and what they believe in, our philanthropic efforts have been a lot around getting kids active and getting kids, fed. Our family business comes from the food space, so feeding is obviously a factor in that as well. And so this just kind of helps to extend that of what we've done in our past. And so, we happen to like to use soccer as our tool to get kids active, but to me, it doesn't really matter. However you want to get kids out and running, because too many kids today are just, glued behind the phone and and not really, participating as much outdoors as I would want them to do. And so hopefully this, allows that, more access to more kids to be able to do those type things.
Davis Grizzard, chairman of Chattanooga FC, dropping by for just to remind us about a very, very cool thing that they are doing up there to make sure that access can be granted to a lot of folks up there that are attached to Chattanooga FC. For those that may not know, this isn't just something that is literally Chattanooga proper. This is something that is Northeast Alabama. It is going into the state of Tennessee proper, heading east and west. It is drifting into Northwest Georgia. This is something that has impact not just on the 423, but a lot of different area codes that are attached to the CFC footprint.
For sure. I mean, we've had several of our players on our first team come from the Dalton area. We've had several players now that we've been able to have join our academy through the Nashville area and the Knoxville area. And so it's a lot more than just that. We think we're really perfectly situated. We're 2 hours away from basically 2 hours from Knoxville, Nashville, Atlanta, Birmingham. We're kind of a central hub for a lot of clubs in the Southeast. And so it's hopefully it's good for the kids and allows a lot of, a lot more growth in the game. When
it comes to the U13s, the U14s, everything going into MLS next, what has it been like for you and the board to see the growth and the interest, and not just, Chattanooga FC, obviously, but the growth and the interest from that age group and everything coming forward? What's it been like for you guys as a group to see the growth that has been there from the youth in the area?
Yeah, it's just exciting for the kids. I mean, I think, when I think back, my dad actually played soccer in high school, which was rare at that time. But, the access that they had back then was so small and so limited. And now, the kids growing up with, a professional club in town, they can see it every weekend if they want. All the European games are streamed on TV. You can watch basically soccer around the clock now if you want. And that wasn't quite the case, obviously, when my dad was coming up. And so just seeing this age group, I mean, I wish I had it when I was growing up, but seeing them have the excitement around the game and being able to watch as many games as they have and get exposed to as, truly elite soccer at an early age is absolutely incredible.
And you can be as specific about this in the description as you want about the financial aspect of it, Davis. But how if you could come up with an adjective or a predicate noun to describe the level of investment to make sure that this would happen, how would you describe the level of investment to make sure that something like this would happen? Is it substantial? Is it 6 or 7 figures? Is it choice D, all the above? How would you describe it without sitting there and saying, yeah, I'm opening up my wallet for like $7.24 or whatever, and, then to the left of the decimal? How substantial are we talking here?
I mean, it's a good investment for sure, but to me, it was just a necessary one. I mean, if I had to use a word, I think it's more necessary, because I think that it's really important for U.S. soccer to embrace a model similar to this.
So, what has the response and the feedback been like from, say, other owners, other investment groups, that kind of a thing? Has your phone been blowing up, when it comes to feedback about this?
I haven't gotten a lot of feedback from other owners or investors. For the most part, the feedback's just come from the community and the parents, and just the excitement around it, and the understanding of how much that, we're willing to put back into the community to help this grow and to help, the game evolve.
Davis Grizzard, chairman and primary owner for CFC, dropping by to talk about the major investment that they are doing to ensure the future of the game and the growth of the game. So here on a Friday morning here on SDH. And so, when you look at this, I mentioned other owners and your phone blowing up from local aspects in this. How would you anticipate, or how would you encourage the investment in this going forward? In as much as it is something that the family and the club want to do, I imagine that you would also like for the resources to come from a bunch of different places, so it doesn't have to be this way in perpetuity. How would you encourage investment to make sure that this continues in the way that you would like for it to be outside of year one?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to come down to a lot of factors of it working, but I think our corporate partnerships that we have. I think obviously we have, naming rights all over the jerseys for the first team and for the women's team, but there's also a lot of value in that on the youth side. And so, getting a key partner that wants to be in the youth game and in front of that. And honestly, I think it's one of the more valuable assets we have, because, the first team plays only a handful of games, only, a handful of families, but this is multiple teams, multiple families, all the parents are there, they're going to tournaments across the Southeast, and they get a ton of exposure and a ton of eyeballs on it. And so I think it can really help that way. And, there's lots of organizations that want to help kids and want to be supportive of soccer in the community. And we're lucky to have that in Chattanooga. And so we'll find a great partner to put on the front of the jersey and, other places as well.
Any clue how many athletes this is reaching out and touching to be a part of their lives? Because as the initial announcement was made, it was listed as it goes, the funding covers several $1,000s per athlete. And that's a lot of math. I mean, how many athletes are we talking here, Dave?
So it's 3 teams. And so, let's just say there's roughly 20 kids on a team. That gets you about 60 kids now. But the goal for us is to have a team in every age group going forward. And so we'll add a team each year. And so it'll continue to grow from there.
So, all right. So let's say that it's just several thousand. So several thousand times 60, that's a lot of thousands, man.
Yes, it is. Yes. But it's, like I said, it's necessary for the growth of the community in the game, for sure.
Oh, yeah, no question. And so it was kind of registering in my brain here early on a Friday morning about the level of investment here when it's several $1,000s per athlete. Then you have the investment per team. Then you want the notion of expanding the number of teams that are there. Could you have imagined CFC impacting as many lives as you do, not just from a fan perspective and a game perspective, but in the U12, U13, U15 perspective? Did you think that you could have reached out and impacted this many folks in a generational sense when you guys started to do this?
I mean, I think that was kind of the ultimate goal. If I look back at, what some of the other things my family has done, I grew up in Rome, Georgia, which is not too far away, but there was a lack of a complex for kids to play in down there. And my family helped spear the group that led the investment, which is now Grizzard Park in Rome, Georgia. And so we got a multi-field soccer complex, actually a couple of baseball fields on it too. And that was really necessary for, the growth of the game and just getting kids outside and moving. And I can't tell you how many kids have played a game down there. It's obviously where I grew up playing games. But that's been, thousands and thousands of kids, impacted in the Rome, Georgia area. And so when we moved to Chattanooga, it's obviously was the next step to make a lasting impact here in the same way we did there.
So I want to go back into the Grizzard family files here for a second. When did you first get an interest in soccer as a sport?
As long as I can remember. I mean, I started playing on the travel team at 8. And so, I was playing, rec league ball and Y ball before that. And, it's like I said earlier, I'm unique in the sense that my dad played. And so I grew up with the sport around. My uncle also played. They won a state title at Darlington. And so it was fun to grow up in that environment for sure. Cause I'm more unique in that because it wasn't as available back then.
I have in my head a state title at Darlington when they tied in the days before they went to penalty kick shootouts.
That is correct. That is correct. So my dad and uncle were both on that team.
And so you know about how the game can impact communities. What has it been like for you and the family, knowing what CFC is when it comes to the growth here in the Southeast? What has it been like for you to see what it's been like in Rome and head north to Chattanooga and see what it means when Fort Finley is just, up and over the top with people and things like that? What's it been like for you and the family to see the sport grow in the Southeast the way that it has, where I'm sure that at first blush, I'm sure that there were a lot of folks that sitting at, either at Rome, Georgia or Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they sit there and they take their hand and they sit there and they go, one of those. And then when they see how it's grown, what's it been like for you to sit there and be a part of the growth of the sport in the Southeast in the pockets that you've seen it, but now with you've seen where it is and what it can be? What's it been like for the family to see it grow?
Yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it makes me think of, my first time I went to a Chattanooga FC game. I was just a fan. I'd come up here for a 6-month work assignment, and that was 13 years ago. So clearly I changed my mind on that. But I had a coworker said, "Hey, you want to go to the Chattanooga FC game?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool. This amateur soccer team, I'll go to one game and, that'll be it." But when you walked in the stadium, you see, 5,000 fans and the drums going and the Chattanooga cheering the way they are. I mean, the atmosphere was absolutely incredible and kind of revigorated my interest in soccer. Like, I didn't play in college, so I hadn't really been playing in a while. Like, sure, I watched some European games on TV and this or that, but I hadn't really thought of U.S. soccer in that light, because this was before Atlanta United was a team. I've grown up in Georgia. I'm an Atlanta everything fan. And so, like, I didn't have Atlanta United yet. I hadn't really had an MLS team to cheer for. And so it kind of became my soccer team for the U.S. because it's in the town I live in, and the atmosphere was great, and the community around it was absolutely incredible. I mean, it's one thing to just go to a game that's fun to watch on the field, but it's another to go to a game where you really enjoy interacting with the people beside you, and everybody's kids are running around on the hill, and people just are in a good mood, having a good time. I mean, it's just a whole different game.
And now, as a part of that, almost bringing it full circle, helping out on MLS Next within the framework of the franchise too. I mean, there's one way, and there's one way to draw in interest, and you're doing that with the first team, and with the WPSL side. We caught up with Coach Butler earlier this week, and with the WPSL coming online with the 25 season, that's one way to do it. But circling back and now getting that the pyramid functioning where it's all the way back to what you guys want to do with MLS Next, and making sure that those athletes that may not have had any other means to continue their own growth in the game, you're making sure that they're brought in under the tent and that they stay under the tent. It's one of those things that I think is really cool about this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously our ultimate dream would be to have all these players come up and be able to be good enough to play on the first team. And, we get a lot of homegrown players in that sense. But at the same time, if we can just get a kid skilled enough to get a college scholarship, and then he can continue to go play that way and get an education that maybe he wouldn't have had another opportunity. And then, we can change lives in that way as well. So, like, it's not just about getting to the first team. It's not just about, promoting the game. It's about how we can, enhance people's lives in the overall.
What's it like when you and everybody there on the board and everybody there in the Grizzard family gets to see that the light come on for that kid that's attached from the U programs that wants to grow the game in that way? What's it like for you guys to see the light come on for them and see how much the enjoyment is paying off for what you guys are doing? Yeah,
it's absolutely incredible. I mean, the kids they're over the moon with it, getting the coaches that they're able to get now, getting the access. I mean, we've signed a couple of players here locally that got their first team contract for the first time, being in the room with them, their parents there. It's just incredible to see that dream come true.
Absolutely. And so, Davis, I can't thank you enough for hopping on first thing on a Friday morning. I know that you're busy with planning and plotting and making sure that all the games come off without a hitch there at Findlay and everything, with the season underway in a bunch of different ways. Thanks for dropping by and letting everybody know what's going on about the year one of the funding. And obviously, that you've got the garage door opener and you've got the keys. So anytime you want to come in and let everybody know what else is going on, you can just reach out and hop in. It's great to see you. Thanks again for the news and the alert and everything. And we'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Thanks for dropping by first thing on a Friday.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, and hope to see everybody out there in Fort Finley. We got a women's home opener tonight and the men's game tomorrow. So
yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. There's a lot of stuff going on. Be safe, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
Sounds good. See you later.
All right. So that is what the Grizzard family is doing. Very, very cool stuff there. And we felt that was an important message just with what's going on up there in Chattanooga at CFC. So very, very cool stuff with what's going on there. So once again, just to remind you about the story in and of itself, Davis is a primary owner, chairman of the board. And the Grizzard family decided to fully fund the club's first season of MLS Next teams. They announced that they were going to launch, that they were going to join MLS Next back in April of last year. And so initially it was going to be U13 and U14. So that's 2012 and 2013 birth years going into MLS Next and starting with the 25-26 season. So they gave themselves a year runway with U13 and U14. And so then what Davis was discussing, that they're announcing the additional U15 team that's going to be competing in the 25-26 MLS Next season as well. And so MLS Next is highest level of youth soccer available in North America. And so MLS Next players get access to those high levels of competition. And, you have access to Coach to Coach Juan, to Coach Butler, to Coach Giraldo, and what they're looking to accomplish across the board. And so that entire three-dimensional approach is what you're looking at there. So very, very cool stuff. They've brought in all of the coaches that we've been discussing. And so for Davis to come in early on a Friday morning and break everything down, very, very cool. So that was a kind of like a bit of live radio and live TV and stuff. So basically, Bart being massively important to our discussions, he's going to join us to start off hour number 2. And like I said, I hope he doesn't get in trouble with any bosses or anything, especially in a holiday weekend. So I am hoping specifically that Bart gets to sit there and say, yes, I've done all of the work that I need to do to make sure that everything is fine. So, but yeah, so Bart will be with us to start off hour number 2. And this now leaves me, I think, a couple of minutes to sit there and vent about everything having to do with breakfast. So morning Bam, morning David, morning Abby, morning Alex, and also good morning Michael Head. And so obviously we have all the discussions there, and just making sure that we're all gassed up and ready to go for the weekend. So here's the plan for the morning. So now that Davis has joined in and we talked about everything at Chattanooga FC with MLS Next, we've got all of the news to get into. We do have some stuff to get into involving Europe. We've got Major League Soccer to get into. And obviously, Michael has brought up the interview that Doug Robertson of the AJC did and catching up with Garth. And so get into that a little bit as well. But basically, I mean, honestly, really the biggest takeaway that really shouldn't be a surprise when it comes to everyone on the field is that the front office is looking at everyone and looking at everything. And so you wouldn't be a front office if you weren't. And that also that Ronnie Dyla and Chris Henderson are going to be focused on doing their gigs. But the other element having to do with the players themselves is that everybody is being looked at. And so, yeah, but like I said, if you wouldn't be a front office if you weren't being looked at. So that's the biggest thing that's there. Really, those are the two big takeaways. Front office is going to continue to do front office things, and that players are going to be looked at for performance and integration into the system. And, like I said, it's a results-based business. We know this. And so with the expectations that were on this club going into the season, then it is going to be up to the administration on a bunch of different levels to determine, okay, so what is our future? And morning, Katie Weaver. So what's our future going to look like? Who's it going to be looking like with? Which is a interrogative that made zero sense when it came to pronoun usage. But basically, what's our future look like? What does our future look like? Who's going to be a part of that future? So the players are going to be a part of the players are going to be in the evaluation process going forward, once again, because of the expectations that are there and everything that's attached to it. So I would probably say that those are the two big takeaways from the Doug Robertson interview with Garth, that the front offices don't just stop working. It's like, oh, season started. Okay, we'll just, sit here. But no, that's not how it really goes. But the front office is going to continue to do their thing when it comes to analysis and evaluation, and players are on the clock. So we'll see what happens with what goes on there. So Katie says, what's an example of blaming bad data? Scouting terminology or current player performance and data stats leading to an injury? I don't know. I mean, that's probably something of both. Because remember, you're looking at analytics, and so I don't know. This is a conversation that legitimately I need to have, and probably I need to have something of a sit down to determine analytics for dummies. And so I need to kind of figure out the what that means, because I mean I know analytics, obviously numbers based business, etc. But what are you looking at in those equations that gives you the A plus B equals C that you're looking for? So that's what I need to learn when it comes for all these kinds of things. So that to me is something, like I said, I need to have an analytics 101 conversation to figure out what it is, what you're looking at, and how the numbers of player A plus numbers of the analysis of player A plus the analysis of player B gives you result C that you're looking for when it comes to all of those things. Let me hang on just a second. Okay, so that to me is what we're staring at. So I need to have an analytics, like a scouting for dummies kind of a thing. I'm looking in the green room, and it looks like somebody just got from a workout and he's trying to get properly hydrated. So we will find out what the workout was like here as we get into the Friday free kick, and I get to ask the first question. Sir, so did you just get from a workout?
That's funny, John. No
Smart.
Workout this morning.
Smart man. Holiday weekend.
Usually,
you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Usually I do wake up at 6 and get a quick workout in for 30 minutes, Monday through Friday. But today, first day of summer for the kids, and so I didn't have to wake up at 6. So I said, give me that extra hour of sleep.
That is fantastic. How did that extra hour of sleep feel?
Amazing. It's amazing, especially since I'm dealing with a little congestion. It's friggin' 45 degrees out on the first day of summer. Like, I don't know what the heck's going on.
So, yeah, I mean, legitimately, I see that you're dressed for the first day of summer weather. I mean, that's just got to, I mean, for me, it drives my sinuses crazy because of hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. But no, you legitimately, you look like you've been through the ringer already this morning.
No, it hasn't been too bad.
But yeah, there are a couple of things that I did want to discuss this morning. Obviously, when it comes to athlete frustrations and things like that involving Atlanta United, without specifically addressing Atlanta United, you can if you wish. But when it comes to a run of bad form, and I'll just go with your career as the reference point here. What was it like for you professionally when you were with clubs that were in runs of bad form? Because I know that your clubs were never in bad form when you were playing with them. Everything was championships and lifting trophies and everything every single year. When you have runs of bad form, how do you snap out of that mentally and physically, and how difficult is that quicksand to get out of?
It's very difficult, and it's very difficult if you don't get out of it quickly. And really I shouldn't say that, because 2017, we had a stretch of, I don't know, it was middle of the season. It was probably 8-10 games where we didn't win. So that was a tough stretch. And then one year in Columbus, after we made the MLS Cup, the next year, we didn't even make the playoffs. It was the only year I didn't make the playoffs with a team, and we just never got out of it. The whole season, we kept thinking, it'll turn, and it never turned. And to this day, I don't really know why, because we had a good team, and sometimes it just doesn't happen, and I don't know why for sure, but I do know that definitely the quicker you get out of it, the better. And in those moments, you have to go from, okay, as long as we're still happy about the performance, we're still getting better, to I don't care about the performance, get 3 points. 1-0 on an own goal where we don't have a shot on net, it's fine. Take it. Because honestly, that changes things in the locker room, in the training ground. I guarantee there's a lot of guys right now that are like, go back to the training ground. Everybody's in a bad mood. Like, then it's like, you know, am I allowed to smile? Am I allowed to have a good time? Am I allowed to laugh at training when we're going through a tough time, right? I don't want to look like I'm enjoying it and happy. But at the same time, if you're not, you're less likely to get out of it. So it's really, really challenging dynamic. And yeah, they need to put a couple wins together here to get out
I
of
mean,
it.
obviously doing it against tough competition that's ahead of you in the table would be ways to do it. But you mentioned that cycle of, you know, you're playing the game that you love, you're having a tough time in it, but you would think that if you come at it with a positive attitude, or as positive an attitude as you can muster when you go onto the training ground, that would be that first step in trying to turn things around. But then you don't want to come across, you know, looking like a Richard out there. It's like, what are you laughing at? You know, one of those kinds of things. You're not taking it seriously. So it seems like that's a bit of a double-edged sword, where if you're not enjoying it, then, you know, maybe you should, you know, go count numbers or something, you know, in an accountancy firm. But you want to enjoy it so you can push past all the negative crap. I mean, it almost seems like a hellacious catch-22 that you'd be in there, having to deal with all this stuff.
Yeah, it's really tough. It is. And, you know, when you're winning, things get, you know, slid under, and you don't focus on them, and it doesn't mean anything. You know, winning hides all. And, but when you're losing, it doesn't. Right. So, yeah, if you do mess up in a passing drill, if you do take 3 touches in a 2-touch game, if you do, you know, little things that really can irk guys and irk the coach, like all of a sudden now it's a bigger deal. And where's your focus? And, you know, do you want to be here type stuff? And so, yeah, it's tough. And I guarantee the environment's not great there at the training ground. And because I've been in those situations before, and it's not fun. And it's tough because you want to take it seriously and know that, hey, this is a dire situation as far as like, hey, are we going to have a decent season this year or not? And of course, everybody wants to, but you can't let it get too out of hand.
When it comes to your mentees and being in a rut, do they talk to you about being in, you know, stuck in a rut of just bad form, negative play? Or did they talk to you about that kind of a topic ever?
Sometimes. It's rare, honestly. You know, definitely we've had some mentees come and they've been through a little bit of a tough patch, or they've gotten out, or they're back in it, or something like that. But I don't know if I've spoke to a mentee that's currently in a super long rough patch, other than somebody that's been out injured for a while.
Because the reason I ask is the generational differences when it comes to addressing bad form. Because with adults, you're getting paid and you're being a professional athlete, and you might be dealing with it one way. I didn't know that if the generational element of it, where you're in high school or what have you, because you're not to that stage yet, and because of peer pressure and those kinds of things, is it administered differently? Do they look at it differently? Is their approach different? That's why I was asking the question. I didn't know if the current generation of the younger student athlete had to, or was looking at it differently than the professional athlete was, or if that pressure of the quicksand is still with them when you have those conversations. That's why.
Yeah. And I think the pressure is stronger for the professionals at that stage, because, you know, I think we talked about it last time. Like, the crowd is challenging sometimes, and, you know, there's people watching, and there's stuff on social media, and there's articles, and all this stuff. And obviously there'll be a lot this weekend with it being the national televised game on Sunday. So they're going to be front and center. So I think it's more challenging for the professionals in this regard. Yeah, but it's still so difficult.
And I mean, I know that peer pressure is one thing with one age group, and I know that peer pressure is probably another. So then let me ask this. What is peer pressure like as an adult and a professional athlete? What is that like for someone who doesn't know? Does it exist in the way that we think? Does it come across differently? What does peer pressure translate into as adults?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think that there's peer pressure off the field here and there of, going out or what you want to do as a group or how you act and things. But I don't know. I don't think it exists. I'm trying to think of situations where it would exist within a locker room.
Well,
and
I mean,
things.
if you're going through a bad patch, or it's like, if you're the one going through a bad patch, or at least you feel subconsciously that you are, and everyone else is succeeding, then you feel like you might have to dance a little faster to try to get out of a rut, to join everybody else. It's like feeling like you're a step behind, FOMO, that kind of. I'm trying to figure out how it would picture itself in a professional locker room when it comes.
Yeah, well, you never want to be the one that's the cause of it, right? Where, especially in this run. And that's where it gets challenging, because you're like, okay, team's playing terrible. We can't win. Yes. Let me at least play well. Let me at least show well. Let me at least not make the mistake that costs us the game. And on one hand, yes, you need to focus on your individual battle. And if 11 guys win their individual battles, are more likely to win the game. But if you have 11 guys out there that, hey, just don't make the mistake that costs us the game, just don't be the guy that, then that's no bueno either, because then we're not playing free and taking risks and things like that. And you play a little tighter. And that's definitely what we see. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I see it, when I watch the games, and it's not singular to Atlanta United. It's any team that, you go watch teams that are fighting relegation, right? It's tough, right? You don't want to be the cause of it. And so, yeah, there's peer pressure there as far as like, hey, I need to do my job better so I'm not costing the team, right? There's nothing worse than, guys working their butts off for 90 minutes, extending all this energy, all the lead up to the whole week. And then you're the guy that makes a mistake in the 90th minute and you lose. That's rough.
You look at the team like LAG right now, and they're finding ways to lose. And, the game at Sporting Kansas City, with the conversation we've already been having this morning, it's like no shots on target for Sporting Kansas City, ends up going off of Yamane's back and goes into the net. And the black cloud continues, and, Schleprock seems to be playing the six or whatever, I mean, it just seems like there are times where it gets so bad you can't get out of your own way. And short of like the Bull Durham meeting on the mound, where you feel like you've got to sacrifice a live chicken, you don't know how to get out of that quicksand. And that to me would be, I can't even fathom that kind of pressure, both on yourself and then on a team, when you have things going that wrong that consistently.
Yeah, I agree. And when we went through it with Columbus, I think, Greg Berhalter was the coach at the time. And I think that, we went through like periods where it was like, okay, train a little bit harder. Okay, train less. Okay, do more off the field things together as a group. And we were pretty close as a group. And none of it seemed to work. And to this day, I don't know why. So, there's not one specific thing Atlanta can do or LA can do. And it's tough. I mean, shoot, we think things are bad for us in Atlanta. Yeah, you bring up the Galaxy, it's even worse. I guess you can say they're without their best player. Maybe if he comes back, they can change things, and it brings a different vibe. And maybe that's what Atlanta needs to do at the window, is change things up, mix things up. I don't know. But it's not good when, you know, your starting striker gets pulled in the away game. When I noticed it the first time was in Philly, I think. Philly scored, we went down, and they subbed him out. And I'm like, ooh,
Well,
that's not
and
good.
I mean,
And then he didn't start the next
and
game.
I mean, you're trying to figure out schedule compression, monitoring minutes. You know, okay, so if I need him here, then how do I navigate this and all these things? I mean, it's there are a lot of things that I do not envy front offices and coaching staffs when you're trying to monitor these kinds of things, especially when scrutiny is as increased as it is, whether it's Montreal or Kansas City or St. Louis or Los Angeles or Atlanta. I mean, you're put in an unenviable position of trying to figure out what's wrong. And if there are multiple things that are wrong, okay, how do we mitigate the thing that we can fix first and then work on all the other things? It turns into the shopping list from hell and trying to figure out, okay, how do we stop A? Okay, now that we've stopped A, can we stop A and B? Then we've stopped A and B, can we stop A, B, and C? It's like it can be maddening if you let it become maddening, and I think that's where we are with some players in a lot of these different cities right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. It's it's tough. It's tough to watch as a fan, for sure, and it's tough for the players. It's tough for the organization. There's a lot of pressure, and you know, Dell says that there's not the pressure of pro rel, right, where you've got that, and I've lived that before, and it's tough because at that point you're thinking. It affects not only myself and how I play next year and what level, but it literally affects jobs of people in the club who might lose their job because, you know, we're going to go down a league and we're not going to be able to afford to have the same staff. Right? That's a different type of pressure for sure. And these guys don't have that. So yeah, one day that would be cool.
And so then to Dell's previous point, discussing what's going on at RIFC, early on in the franchise history, it was draw, and it was just one of those things where I think that patience was exhibited by the front office when it came to what Kano wanted to do and understanding the context of the situation. How hard is it to understand and be patient when you know that it's like, you know, you can do better. You're looking from the outside. I mean, you're looking at it from the Rhode Island perspective as part of the ownership group and the advisory folks. From the Atlanta United perspective, it's being a former player that has ties to the organization that you still love and have ties to. It's like I just have this vision of you watching USL Championship games and responding one way, and Atlanta United games and responding. It's like the level of patience you must have in not wanting to do certain things. I give you full credit, man, because I figure that there are times when you're sitting there driving yourself crazy that you need to do the whiplash thing, but you restrain, and it ends up being better for it. Exhibiting that kind of patience, that's got to be hard.
Sometimes, yeah, for sure. But you know, I think in general, I'm pretty patient and take the long-term view on a lot of things. And for Rhode Island, it was easier. It was our first season, right? You kind of have that, hey, it's your first season. Expectations aren't super high, right? We want to make the playoffs. But, you know, I've gone through it and I know how difficult it is, you know, to start a new team and start off on the right foot and do everything. It's difficult. So, you know, I think the patience was definitely easier with Rhode Island FC. Being at year one. For Atlanta, it's tough. I mean, it's been a long time since they've been like really good, and you know, we've had some moments here and there, and which has been great. But you know, I think the bar was just set so high, and you know, the club does spend the finances needed to have success. So, and the fans, and it's just a different atmosphere. You know, when you've got 40,000 people in the Benz, you know, you expect something different. And so, you know, especially with the moves they made in the off season. So the patience wears thinner when it's Atlanta, just because you've been around, and maybe that will be the case with Rhode Island as well in the future. But Yeah, try and have patience, because I also know like what it is like on the other side. Guys, when I watch Atlanta United play, I don't see guys that are giving up and they're not working hard. So it's not that, which makes it, more challenging, because you can't just say, oh, work hard, or, oh, this guy doesn't care to be here. Da, da, da. I don't think that's the
Well,
case.
yeah, I blame the grass surface in Nashville more than more than anything else. When it comes to your mentees, how many of them do you, in the conversations that you have with them, how many of them do they admit to pressing in times of trouble? Do they sit there and sit there and go, yeah, I think I'm pushing too hard? Or do they just sit there and understand that I feel like I need to do this regardless of the level that I'm pushing myself at, whether it's detrimental or not? Do they push themselves too hard at times?
Some do, yes. Yeah, for sure. It's just too many extra sessions and individual sessions and extra trainings, and it's just too much sometimes. Yeah, it is. And sometimes you need to back off. And we talk about everybody's different, and you have to find out for your body when you need to back off. And sometimes that's physical and sometimes it's mental. And either way, taking time off is not going to set you back that much, right? Taking a weekend off, taking a week off, taking 2 weeks off is not going to make or break you as far as when you get back into it, especially, fitness wise, as long as you're staying up with that. Right. Sometimes we have to take a step back in order to take the next 2 steps forward.
Do they understand that, though, at first blush? Because I would imagine, as driven as a lot of them are and wanting to get to whatever the next level is, I would anticipate that a lot of the time they're like, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. I've got to do it. I've got to keep up with the Joneses. I've got to keep up with my buddy down the street who's doing better things. Do they understand the value of dialing it back? Or do you have to sit there? Do you and Greg have to sit there and go, no, you don't understand? You might be doing more harm to yourself than good if you don't. How much hammering at that point do you have to do?
A little bit, and that's why I think it's valuable that they hear it from us, to let them know, whether the parent is advocating for it or not. At least, if they can hear it from us and let them know that, hey, it's okay to take this. It's okay to take this time for yourself. You need the rest. Rest is important. Even professionals take rest. We hope that makes a difference. But there are some, I think, that understand it. But there's a good amount that don't, and they think, hey, if I'm not keeping up with the Joneses, and if I'm not out practicing everybody else, right? And you've got that kind of, Kobe mentality, which is a great mentality, but that's not for everybody. Not everybody can work as hard as Kobe did. So there's a balance for sure. And like with everything, I say that word a lot, and we always talk about it.
Katie Weaver, in the discussions this morning, she has a lot of different things. And that's the first half of it, because she's a tennis player. She says, wild to see in a team dynamic, mentality drops if you have a couple of misses. An entire Atlanta team seemingly playing without confidence. You can't pretend to feel confident. Do you just have to focus on little individual moments? What mental gymnastics do you teach mentees to build confidence?
Yeah, that's great. And you're so right. I think that one player or 2 players can really change the whole dynamic of a group, right? If the group can go out there and score 2 or 3 goals, or if an individual can really take it to the next level and bring a lot of people up with them, right? It can start to change things quickly. Because it just gives confidence in the group. Right now, the team has no confidence that, one, they can get a shutout, and like, hey, all we need to do is get a shutout, and we'll at least tie 0-0. And they have no confidence that they can, if they give up a goal, they can outscore the other team. And so if you have confidence in neither of those sides, like, then you're just waiting for something bad to happen. Right? But if you go out and you score 2 or 3 on Cincinnati in the first half, and Miguel or Latte or somebody has an amazing half, then all of a sudden the team can get the belief, and guys aren't afraid of every little pass and every little mistake, right? It's like, okay, we've got this cushion because, somebody had that amazing half. And so, yeah, it can change quickly with 1 or 2 guys really taking it upon themselves, but it's difficult, right, for those couple guys, especially when the whole group is playing without a lot of confidence.
At MF Parkhurst on the Twitter is at BG Mentoring on the 280 character at Michael Parkhurst, joining us after getting an extra hour of sleep. because it's that time of year to get the extra hour of sleep and sit there and go, you know what? I don't have to set my alarm to 6:30. It can be 7:30. And I mean, I did not anticipate or intend for this visit this week to be as deep as it is getting when it comes to topics. But
but to Emilio's comment though, at some point you do start to wonder, right, of like that, and that's the difference. Dell said something earlier, and I could see with Rhode Island that the players never lost the confidence in Kano, the coach. And if that happens, now you've got a real problem. And so obviously I'm not around the team at all, so I have no clue how the dynamic is. But if you start to see that the players don't have belief in the system, they don't have belief in the coach and all that stuff, then that's a recipe for not turning things around.
How difficult is it to focus in a situation when you're being watched? And I mean that in the sense of, nobody's job is safe, whatever cliche you want to use. How difficult is it when you're being evaluated? You're being evaluated probably more than you would otherwise, and that everyone above you is wanting to have things changed on the field, and you try not to have it get to you, but that it's a part of the day-to-day because of where the situation currently is. That's another part of the difficult balance, I guess, that we're staring at here, trying not to let the people looking over your shoulder get to you as they're looking over your shoulder. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And as athletes, we know that we're always being evaluated, right? You can always get traded or, released at the end of the season or whatever, get a new contract. You're always fighting for new things and bigger things and stuff. So, you're always being evaluated, but it's different when they come out and say that you're being evaluated, for sure. So that's when I think you need to look inward and say, okay, maybe it's a terrible atmosphere at training. I don't know if it is, but I'm going to bring what I can bring. I'm going to control what I can control. And I don't care about everybody else right now. I'm going to hold myself to my standard. Other guys can do as they please. And, I'm going to do what I need to do in order to play well. And you hope that everybody else is having that same attitude, or if they don't, then at least they're seeing you do it, then they'll do it as well. But younger players, they just need to look in themselves and say, hey, go out there, and somebody said it earlier, right? Focus on your individual confidence and your individual game. Because that's all they can do.
Dell wants to know what you're reading.
I'm actually not reading anything right now, and I need to get a new book. It's been a little bit. I don't know if anybody has any suggestions.
That probably means that I should probably just write another one so I can send it. Have you and Greg thought about writing a book on mentoring as a part of the Beyond Goals umbrella and three-dimensional approach?
We thought it's been mentioned. It's also been mentioned, like, how could we tie it into Atlanta United, our time at Atlanta United? But then that's going back a long way, and I'm like, I don't know if I can even remember everything and all the details. And I mean, I'm just assuming it's a lot of work. You would know better than I would.
There are times when the project flows and it doesn't feel like it's a lot of work, but it is like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. I don't know how you are, but putting like the 500-piece jigsaw puzzle together that has like the Dutch bridge and the cottages and everything on the side of the Danube or whatever. How are you at jigsaw puzzles? Okay, so then you probably would have fun putting a piece in a book together, because it is a gigantic jigsaw puzzle. Just saying. Just add
Saying,
to everything else. Since you have zero time to begin with, considering that you're mentoring, you're a mogul, you're a dad, you're trying to play golf, you're sleeping that extra hour, trying to juggle all of these different things. But it is a jigsaw puzzle. What's the latest with Beyond Goals?
We finally are getting our third mentor up and running. So we will announce her here soon over the next
it is a
week or
her.
two.
Okay.
It is, yep. And she's a current professional. And so, yeah, we're excited to get her on board. So we've been just trying to get her up to speed, bring her on some sessions with us to, show the ropes and try and teach her some of the things that we've learned throughout our journey. And so, yeah, that's been the main focus for us the last
so
few
then
weeks.
What you're saying is, say the next time that you are on after this, or maybe you could break some news and introduce this new mentor on one of your Friday segments, eh? Break some news?
We could possibly. She wouldn't be on because she's going to have trainings in the morning. But
she can do two things at once. If she can be a mentor, and you're trying to break news at Beyond Goals, she can have the selfie stick out. She could sit there and have training and sit there and do all of that.
We're gonna have to talk about priorities.
This is what I'm saying. When's your next round of golf?
Not this weekend. Headed to Indiana later today for a baseball tournament. So hopefully next week.
I wish you speed and good luck, sir, with the baseball tournament. As always, my friend, great to see you. Thanks for putting up with all of our deep dives and conversations and topics and things like that. Go lay down with Deacon, because I'm sure that Deacon hasn't moved in 2 weeks.
Because the kids are home, she's not here. She's hanging out with the kids. So
okay, yeah, but it's like, where's my treat? Basically, that's how this works. I know how this is. All right, be well, my friend. We'll see you soon. All right, there goes Parky. And so now we do the hot tag and bring him back after hour number 1's false start. How's the microphone?
Hopefully it's good.
It is.
All right.
It's functioning. All right. So the reason that we wanted to have you on, unsure of time slot, making sure that you didn't get into trouble at work, your actual paying gig, is because of the series of actions going on in June, and we now have a roster makeup.
Mm-hmm.
We still have some questions, I imagine, when it comes to said roster makeup. When Mauricio Pochettino and the national team came out with what the list was, what was your initial evaluation, other than the subplots that we'll get into here in a second, but what was your initial thought about the roster when it was released?
Okay, John, I was mad. I'm going to be real honest, because I feel like I'm mad on multiple fronts. The first is this feels like a missed opportunity for this program to get its best players available together for an extended period of time before the World Cup. So we have, when this kicks off, we'll have about a year until the World Cup starts, right? This is the last real opportunity to test yourselves in a tournament format, right? So completely, missing that opportunity to get your best players available in. And I understand there are some players who can't be here because of club commitments. I get that. There are several players who decided they just aren't coming. And that is disappointing because, again, it misses on a couple of things. One, just team preparation, right? Two, building fan excitement. Clearly, they can't read the room. There's a lot of people who are apathetic toward this team, to mad at this team.
Yeah.
And this roster did not help anybody not be mad at this team. So that's kind of the biggest takeaway, is this just feels like U.S. Soccer, again, throwing away an opportunity to get your big guns together in a tournament environment because they just don't see the Gold Cup as important anymore. And while I understand that they may not value the Gold Cup, CONCACAF sure as hell does, and they're charging us an insane amount of money just to watch this not very good team field on the field.
And one of the larger pieces of news attached to it, yesterday, Matt Crocker, sporting director at U.S. Soccer, released a statement U.S. Soccer released a statement that said that Christian Pulisic and his team asked for a summer break given his heavy load the last 2 seasons at AC Milan, and, quote, the collective decision that this is the right moment for him to get the rest he needs, end quote.
So I think there are 2 things about this that bother me. One is, okay, you're acting like other people haven't played soccer before, and I think it's kind of bullshit, to be quite honest.
There's the explicit rating on a Friday.
There are players who have played multiple long seasons who go on and play the Euro. So are we just allowing, I don't know, say the Bayern Munich squad, because they seem to, the Barcelona squad, because they populate a lot of their national teams. It's not like they sit out during, also, Milan, you've been done with European football for several months now. So, I don't buy it. Sorry. And 2, okay, I can understand the compromise of, you know what, we won't make Pulisic come for the full entirety of the Gold Cup, right? I can understand where that would be something that may be, hey, I do need a break. Okay, fine. You're not coming for these friendlies against Switzerland and Turkey.
Yeah.
You're not even doing that. And Puli's not the only one. There are other players who have decided to not come. But it's truly indicative of the mindset of this team that they do not value, they do not prioritize, they don't think that the national team stuff needs to be given importance.
And you have
he's only played in 1 Gold Cup ever. Okay. Yeah. So this is kind of bullshit. Sorry. You played in 2019. That's it. Y'all have not had, you played in the Copa America in 2024, where you sucked, by the way. You absolutely sucked. You personally sucked, and the team sucked. Okay? So you're telling me that you're just throwing away an opportunity to, again, get real tournament experience because, well, I played in a World Cup and I played in a Gold Cup once and I played in a Copa America. It's just, y'all aren't at the position where, like, you think you can just do this, okay? Y'all aren't there. Your FIFA ranking keeps sliding because you keep not getting results.
And
absolutely sucked in March. You sucked last summer. And now you're saying, I don't know, man. It's hard. I don't want to. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. That is not the mentality and the actions befitting the captain of the U.S. men's national team. Take his armband away. I'm sorry. This is my hot take. Take his armband away. He has not lived up to it. He does not deserve it. Just because he's your best player does not mean he should be the captain. Look who is here. There's a Tyler Adams. Talk about injury problems. Tyler Dadgum Adams, okay? Tyler Adams is here. He deserves to be the captain.
That was going to be my follow-up question, but you beat me to it. So would your opinion of Christian Pulisic alter in any way if he wanted to be a part of team activities and still not participate in the 2 matches?
I mean, again, I think there's a compromise of, I don't want to physically play in the matches during the Gold Cup. I'm not saying, like, I understand to an extent why they may not want to, right? But you are absconding your duties as captain of this national team, right? Again, you can't be bothered to even come here for the 2 friendlies at the beginning of June. You're telling me there aren't guys on the Turkey and Swiss squad who haven't played a lot in the last couple of years?
Well, I imagine that they, especially in the Turkish league, if you have players that are
right,
they're playing in their home nation league, and they understand what when you're going up against Besiktas and Trabzonspor means when it comes to everything going on in your league. I get that, and that's why I wanted to ask if there was an acceptable midpoint for you when it comes to Christian Pulisic and activity involving this particular camp, knowing that the Gold Cup roster has to be announced, it has to be submitted by June 4.
Mm-hmm.
So maximum of 26 submitted by June 4 with this list of folks. And so you're looking at Freeze, Schulte, Steffen, Matt Turner, Arfston, Dest, Alex Freeman, which I think is a really interesting selection. DeJuan Jones, Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson. Midfield, Brendan Aronson, Tyler Adams, Sebastian Berhalter, yet another interesting selection. We'll get into that in a second. Johnny, Luca De La Torre, Diego Luna, Jack McGlynn, Quinn Sullivan, Malik Tillman, Sean Zawadsky, and then up top, Patrick Ajimong, Falarin Balogun, Damian Downs, Brian White, and Haji Wright. So you have White and Wright as a part of things in your forward. So of this grouping of 15 and 27, what did you think?
I think there are some players on here who have earned it via their club season, and I think that is a good thing, right? I think when you talk about specifically Quinn Sullivan, I think has had a really good season, right? I think he's been a pivotal player for a Philadelphia team that's doing really well. So much so that he was rotated out when they came to Atlanta because they didn't even think that he was needed to beat us. He's that important to them. Alex Freeman, another one who seems to have had a really good season for Orlando. I think that's one that, again, is an example of if you have a good club season, you'll be rewarded with some men's national team call-ups. And I like that, There are some players on here that I don't think are in that category of they've had good club seasons. Let's call them up. Or more importantly, there are players who have had better club seasons who deserve call-ups who aren't called up, right? No John Tolkien, no Caleb Wiley. Okay. Max Arfston is a okay at best player for Columbus. Sean Zawadsky, I don't understand what he does or why he would be here. Especially when you have a guy like Paxton Aronson, who in a better league has performed, if not better, at least the same. Mm-hmm. There are players that it seems like, again, the problem here is, well, he's in Pochettino's Rolodex of players he's met while being here.
Yeah.
And that, there are some conflicting statements, John, that I will be talking about on the next episode of Soccer for Us, because that'll be coming out next week when we do a full takes reaction episode.
Okay.
But it's a little inconsistent and hypocritical from Pochettino in his selection and then also his messaging. So he needs to figure out what exactly he wants to do. And it can't just be, well, I saw them play once.
By the way, episode 118, so that is CXV is going to be out later this morning.
Yes, it will.
The summer goals for the WNT and the ending,
which changed a little bit when we saw this Gold Cup roster, John.
Yeah. So Bart and Thomas go philosophical before they get into the blood and guts of CXIX, which will be coming out next week because they're going to be on fire, as you couldn't tell from this morning. So Bart dropping by, and I know that there was the Sebastian Berhalter name, because he's the hot name right now with Vancouver, part of their growth. I understand that pickup.
Look, Sebastian Berhalter, Luca De La Torre have had really good MLS seasons, and I think they're examples of played really well in league. Yep. They deserve a call-up. Luca obviously kind of didn't get the favor of Pochettino when he came in. I don't think that's a wrong assumption. He wasn't great for the U.S. men's national team, but he's had a really good season in MLS for a very good San Diego team, and good for him getting that call-up. Again, Sebastian Berhalter kind of, is... I don't think he's necessarily the emblem of revitalized Vancouver Whitecaps, but I think he's one of those players that is the best example of why Vancouver is playing so well this season. He's elevated his game. His teammate Brian White is here as well, who, if he's the Chris Wondolowski of the generation, fine. And I mean, I don't mean that in a disparaging comment. I think I've made my feelings on Brian White's inclusion known, but yeah, sure, he's a guy who scores a lot in MLS. Cool.
You're going with the hot name, basically.
I mean, that was Chris Wondolowski, right? He was a guy who scored a lot in MLS. Clearly wasn't ever going to take his talents abroad.
Yeah,
and he got included a lot in the U.S. national team because, hey, the dude scores.
Yeah. Yes, he scores. And so then there were names that were left off. Who you mentioned Tolkien being left off.
Yeah.
Who rightfully was left off in your mind?
Well, I do think that Josh Sargent is one who you can look at his club form and say he's been good.
Yeah.
It has not at all been good for the U.S. men's national team. He had his opportunities in March and he failed miserably, to be blunt.
Yeah.
You know, he did technically put the ball in the net once. Unfortunately, Tim Weah was offside. He hasn't proven it for the national team, and the problem is he's in a position where there's no other like little factors you can kind of keep giving him to say, well, he does this and this well. It's like, well, he's a striker. The goal of the job of a striker
is to strike.
Right? It is to put the ball in the rectangle thing. You know, put the ball over the goal line, between the goalposts and under the crossbar, as the laws of the game will define it.
Yes.
And he hasn't done that too much. So I think that's one that was definitely rightfully left off. Again, I think I'm more looking at players who should have gotten calls up that didn't. I do think the center back selection is fine, but when I look at DeJuan Jones and Max Arfston, I'm just not understanding why they are here, but other guys who had good seasons in Europe aren't here. And I'm not saying they're better or worse. I'm just saying if we're just rewarding players for playing solidly, there are other players who probably could be here. I think also you look at this and you don't see Joe Scally, who another one maybe similar to Pulisic. It's like, are you just taking a break, man?
Yeah.
It's not like you've had European competition, so what's your excuse? Is that because Sergiño Desta's back? Maybe, but like, as much as I don't think Joe Scally is the best player ever, he, in my mind, is certainly one who is at least your second, if not third, best option at right back. And as we know, can play left back, but I think is more suitable as a stay-at-home right back. And I don't know. There's a lot of confusing things here, John. And I don't, again, understand why you wouldn't try to assemble the best players available, even if a guy like Pulisic takes himself out, even if a guy like Joe Scally takes himself out. I don't look at these players and go, yeah, they're the best. Jack McGlynn has been bad. Maybe not he's been bad. Houston's been bad, you know?
Yeah.
Tanner Tessman isn't here. You can't tell me he's been playing a whole lot of soccer recently. That's not, he went to Lyon and he's played a good bit, but like, what are we doing here?
So from our friends at Soccer America, when this roster was released, our friend Paul Kennedy, in the analysis of it, he says, Pochettino downplayed the importance of having the USMNT together. It will get up to 5 weeks and 8 matches, 2 friendlies and 6 Gold Cup games in what is only the 5th gathering since he took over, and with only 5 more if you include a January 2026 camp to follow before the team for the 26 World Cup picked. Quote, sometimes we give too much importance knowing to be together, he said, and sometimes the group sometimes doesn't work in this way or build in this way. Yunus Musa, for what Pochettino described as personal reasons, as late as Monday, is absent. Musa still in the squad, according to Pochettino. Jedi Robinson, who missed the Nations League with a tendon injury in his knee and has been training infrequently this spring with Fulham, quote, the situation still is not clear, according to Pochettino, following recent visits Robinson made to specialists. That makes 5 World Cup 2022 starters plus Reyna, who won't be at the Gold Cup, but the list of absentees includes Scally, CCV, Tanner Tessman, Josh Sargent, who all started one or both games at Nations League, were dropped in what Pochettino called football decisions without getting into the specifics of their situation, with just 9 of the 20 outfield players from the Nations League team picked for the Gold Cup. That has created unprecedented turnover in the USMNT A squad from one window to the next. Pochettino says, in mentioning Luna, McGlynn, Arfston, Ajimong, and Brian White, they've emerged as Pochettino's favorites. Quote, my feeling in all these camps from October, November, January, and March, I think many players, they took the chance and deserve again to come back because they not only performed and behaved well in the camp, after that, they kept performing in their teams. So that was the early thoughts of Mauricio Pochettino here in the assembly.
Yeah, I have a problem with that answer, John, because him saying that time together isn't the most important thing. Yet earlier this year, he said that he wants to, some of the reasons for his selections is he wants to touch and feel players, as he kind of says.
Mm-hmm.
So which one is it? Which one is it? And again, I will soften a little bit because I think there has been some reports that Pulisic's hip is not as good as healthy. And to kind of looking at Jedi saying, look, man, I have been playing all season with a knee that is held together by, bubblegum and duct tape.
Right.
I get it. This is your time for rest. Again, my issue is I can understand them not coming to the Gold Cup, but we have two important friendlies that U.S. Soccer is charging a lot of money for, and you are deciding to not show up. And that's where I get the problem, because why are we getting charged this much money for not our best players?
Yeah.
It's a scam.
Yeah. Quote, I think what we want to create on our national team is people desperate to come, but desperate to come to perform. To perform means follow the rules, create a good atmosphere, be a part of the team, be able in every single aspect to meet our demands. If you arrive to the camp and you want to spend a nice time, play golf, go for a dinner, visit my family, visit my friend, is that the culture that we want to create? No, 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 no. What we want to do is to go to the national team, arrive and be focused, and spend all my focus and energy on the national team, because we need to create this culture about winning, and we need to chase our aim. If we want to be good in 1 year's time, we need to think that today is the most important day.
Correct. And this doesn't shout importance. So look, maybe the players are inspired and they come out and they play well, and they act like every day is important.
Mm-hmm.
Every match is important, right? We have not seen that from the U.S. men's national team this year, so that's kind of my issue is, well, we ain't seen it. But sure, that sounds nice, John.
Dell wants to know why Gio Reyna is missing.
Gio's playing for Dortmund in the club. Well, let me rephrase. Gio will be with Dortmund during their time at the Club World Cup. Will he be playing? We shall see. He has been told that he can find other clubs to play for, which I think is probably a good thing for him. He probably needs to. But I do think that I kind of go back and forth on this. I think him playing for Dortmund in the Club World Cup is basically just saying Dortmund saying we need players because, but I also think it could be a good thing for him if he actually trains well and plays. Because they need players. Like, that's where we're at with the Club World Cup. FIFA has given people extra transfer windows just for this, because this cockamamie, tournament they're putting on to try to pretend like this matters. They are realizing that a lot of clubs don't fully love this idea.
keep playing.
So, yeah. But I mean, again, I think it could be good for Gio to. Yeah. He will. I mean, look, at this point, I think it's fair to say that if he performs well in training, he will get time on the field during the Club World Cup, which in theory could raise his, maybe not value, but his stock with other teams who want him, because I think his physical money value is down, but I think what can he actually bring us on the team in would be good. I'm not talking about Gio Reyna all morning. Sorry, Del. I have 7 more minutes to be on here. I'm not spending it on Gio Reyna.
All right. So another couple of pieces of news before we get out of here. French national team coach Laurent Bonnaday has dropped Wendy Renard, Eugenie Le Sommer, and Kenza Dopp for the UEFA Nations League matches against Switzerland and Iceland.
Yeah, Le Sommer has been, not Le Sommer, Renard has been in and out of Lyon's team for a lot of reasons. I think mostly injury. But I do think, look, they're on the very wrong side of 30 and approaching the wrong side of 40, to be quite honest. And I think this is them moving, changing a generation, to be quite honest. And again, they might be in the same position of just got done with a long season, but those are iconic figures in the women's game. And when they do end up retiring, be it with the national team or their club team, it will be a definite sad day for women's soccer, because I think they've also done a great job of pushing the game forward from a technical level, right? They are some of the most technically gifted players. That French generation, to me, redefined what it is to be a professional women's soccer player, both club and country. And But I think it's probably time for them to kind of take a back seat and let the younger generation. I mean, look, there's some great young talent in France, and that's the team that, I don't know what the corollary would be on the men's side. I kind of want to say Netherlands, but I don't even think they've even done that, Yeah. But they are the perennially underperforming team, despite having more talent than just about anyone outside the U.S. and England. And they've got to figure that out. That's their goal.
Yes. And so I saw that, and I felt like I had to mention that. Then also, Alana Cook out for the season with a knee injury for KC Current in the NWSL.
That sucks. I hate that for Alana. She kind of got another chance with the national team last window. I don't know if it went really well, but that is, John, for her, a major setback, and I hate that. It's also a major setback for Kansas City, who, probably needs that stability in their back line this season to compete with some of the bigger teams in NWSL. I don't think it affects anything on the national team level, though, especially with Naomi Garment back.
Yeah. U20 had their roster announced. Training camp starting on Monday, run by Reign assistant coach Kate Norton.
Mm-hmm.
Amaral, Daw, and Todd in net. Haley Bauman, Kennedy Bell, Bramlett, Gaetino, Faith George, Alyssa Gonzalez, and Pat and Sierra Scythe on defense. Sophia Bush, Shea Harvey, Charlotte Kohler, Isabella Nahara, Melina Rabimbas, Kiera Stout from UGA, Taylor Suarez from Florida State, Katie Collins, Isabella Diorio, Julia Quinones from Pepperdine, Morgan Roy, Amanda Schluter, and Olivia Woodson from Auburn, leading up that U20 national team camp.
Also, the U23 national team will be playing for the women's side, and you have Jaden Shaw playing there, there's a couple of players on that team that probably are in that senior national team expanded group, if you will, that aren't. Obviously, the 24-player roster from Emma Hayes dropped this week, too. We will be definitely talking about that because to tease a little bit about what episode 118 is, John, these two programs are definitely in different stages right now.
Yep.
And the U.S. women are still in we need to expand our pool, because I think that's what you need to do in these couple of years after the World Cup, is to expand it so that you can pare down who actually deserves to be there and who you can bring to a tournament and win. And so right now we're seeing, I'll give Lola Bonta kind of the shout out from the women's side of, she's definitely, on the older veteran player type of list, but maybe she can give you something that's going to help you win a World Cup in 2027. Can she give you 2 good years of steady, reliable training ground performances and leadership? But then also, if she steps on the field, can she deliver what Emma wants from the system? And, I think that's what Emma Hayes is looking for right now. You've also got some young talent. I think Avery Patterson is the one outside back that Emma seemed to latch onto, really likes. We got to find a new left back. I love Crystal Dunn. She cannot play forever. We got to find a new left back. So we shall see, John. But I think if you're looking at this summer, John, again, we have 10 games in 36 days. If my math is correct, maybe 33. I don't know. I didn't go to school for math, John.
I didn't either.
I know. We're both out of luck on here, but a lot coming up, and 5 of those are women's national team games for sure. And it'll be interesting to see what this group looks like. I will note that this group is just for the 2 games against China and Jamaica, which means that we likely will see maybe more. I don't know what that'll look like for the later half, because you do get 3 games in that window, the Ireland and Canada window. It wouldn't surprise me if there's 25 plus in that camp. But I think you can kind of see where Emma Hayes is looking at with this pool of really expanding and finding players who can help her now build toward 2027.
Soccer for USPOD, episode 118, coming up later this morning, if I can turn it quickly enough after we hang up and finish. Because it's loaded, I just have to do all the fancy linking like that. So 118 getting ready to come out later this morning. 119 when Bart's really mad and not helping drop the E rating on his own show as opposed to this one. That'll be up next week. As always, my friend, enjoy your holiday weekend. We'll catch up with you soon.
Y'all too.
We'll be back on Monday in your normal time slot to discuss things. And there goes Bart. And so I think I didn't want Bart to get into any kind of trouble, Jarrett, with his real gig. So what is on your mind as we lean into the weekend and let everybody know what's going on Major League Soccer and around the planet? What's on your mind?
Back to the grind of MLS.
Yes, absolutely true.
And fun week though for U.S. Open Cup chaos.
Yes.
I've been out of commission all week.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
Like I had a lot of work, and then I had to like get my hand cut open.
Yes,
that was fun.
Yes, you
survived.
uh-huh.
But
you want to call
I what's up?
If you want to call it that, surviving.
It's always fun when you get done with surgery and the doctor like, you know what? I do a bunch of these a day, but you made that interesting. That's not what I want to hear.
No.
That's not what I want to hear you say.
No.
But whatever. The fun one, unfortunately, I wasn't able to about it Wednesday morning. Was the Tuesday night Open Cup games were absolutely bonkers.
Yes.
We had you had Charlotte and DC. That Charlotte had lead twice in that game. Once they gave it up in like the 85th minute, and then once they gave like the 103rd minute, and then that Charlotte DC shootout was one of the greatest cries for help I have ever seen in my life.
I mean, man,
everyone in that shootout looked terrified.
Can anybody hit one of these?
3 people. Out of the 10 penalties, only 3 were converted.
Uh-huh.
And the last one was Layla Bottom missing. Who was a starter for Charlotte. That was a weird one. Then you had, Dallas and Red Bulls go to penalty late. It was a lot of fun. Like you had fun Open Cup, and now you can do the grind. And I'm still mad at the decisions by U.S. Soccer structuring teams into Open Cup and Leagues Cup the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand you have entered this agreement with Liga MX to have Leagues Cup. My issues with Open Cup are complex, and some of them have to do with the fact, MLS does a lot of the heavy lifting financially, and I think it needs to be looked at how Open Cup operates. But the fact that you had so many teams who were not Open Cup in any capacity, like if you're not going to put your first team in Open Cup, put your second team in.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Atlanta did not have a single damn representative in Open Cup pissed me off to no end. Because we other teams put their second team in. Put the two. If you're going to tell the first team they're playing in League Cup, then damn it, put the twos in Open Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Have a representative from there, from MLS Next Pro even, and have them in there. Like, have some fun with it. It's just I was very cross with the way they handle it. But
yes.
Whatever. We're to the point we're at now with it. Now everyone gets to go back to playing league games this weekend, and my God, please quit putting Atlanta on the quit putting Atlanta in the spotlight. Like you've had them on in the early game last 2 weeks, which means they're kind of the only thing to watch, and now they're on Sunday night. Like, leave us alone. We got enough props right now. Please leave us alone. Put us in the 7 o'clock slot with everyone else on Saturday night, so we could just kind of blend in while we listen. It's kind of how I feel.
Yes. So your gut for Atlanta United and FC Cincinnati is what, sir? Outside of the fact that they are SNS.
No, I'm going to be honest with you, John. It's not optimistic. And you can call it whatever you want, but it's not optimistic because cannot seem to turn the engine over one way or another. Whether it's mistakes, failing in front. I don't have. Cincinnati a well-drilled team, but I'm interested to see. Honestly, like the first thing I want to see is actually show some fight. And not just like physically fighting, because like Cincinnati will get under your skin. But for me, it's more about, can you show me your reactions to things? So like when you give up a goal, how do you react? Because at times your reactions haven't been good enough, man. Like, go back to the Nashville game. When you got the lead on Nashville, they didn't hang their heads. They got pissed off. You haven't really shown that. Ronnie Dyla talked about it, after the last game. I think Ronnie's been honest. I think he's getting more bluntly honest, which is understandable. He's got to be pissed too. And I know Doug dropped his article about the interview with Garth, and Ronnie is safer now based on those comments, which I'm glad with, because you fire 4 coaches in however many years. It's but he's got to be angry too, because he did a job. And right now, man, it feels like guys are just kind of floating through games. And that's on the players. I know he mentioned, nobody on that roster is safe. I think he said Manu, Medanchuk, which is going to be divisive to people, and Almiron, which should be divisive to people, but it won't be. Those are the 3 guys I think he mentioned that you don't want to bring in a designated player and turn around and sell them. Everyone else should be on the block, man. And this summer, going into the summer window, this should just be like, hey, it's audition time, boys. And I had hoped, and it's kind of a situation, John, because I had hoped to see more rotations of guys. Like, we have been yelling about, play the kids. Like, at this point, he needs to be in pen on that sheet, because he's played his ass off every time you put him on the field. Don't have Tristan William-Baugh, who's been great when he's been out there. And Tristan's a weird one, because Tristan, I thought, disappeared and lost his spot to Jay. And then he came in this year, and he has earned playing time back. He responded the way I wanted
in this
to.
system, that what Ronnie Dyla is asking for from Tristan positionally, he's getting that from him on offense and defense.
I agree completely. Jay's got to be in there in pen. I want to see Noah Cobb more. Matt Edwards is making a case that he is more. I think he is making a case that he is more than just a buried in the depth chart outside backs utility guy in this league. His improvement game after has been fascinating to watch. I don't know what they're going to do with those positions. I don't know what, for like Brooks Lennon, what the contract looks like. I know he's making money. But Matthew Edwards is making it an interesting conversation on the outside back spot, because you already have Ronald Hernandez, who is, and I know Bart, who just left. Bart and I have differing opinions on Ronald, but Ronald will bleed for the shirt, and he will go out there and do anything you ask of him. And you got to have those guys. Have those guys in your roster, and it's a long season, who I need you to go do this. And I know I can't give you minutes every time out, but when I could be able to jump, and they do it. You got to have those guys. I want to see more Luke Brennan. I'm disappointed we haven't seen more of Will Riley with the first team. He came in Cincinnati and ran his ass off and worked his ass off. We've seen him in like 5-minute cameos at the end. I really wanted to see more Will Riley.
Yep.
However, I can sit here and do that, but I'm not the coach who's having to figure out how I can not just get wins, but get productivity. Because I understand it if Ronnie's looking at this of, I have these guys who can be difference makers. I have to get them going. I have confidence. Like, I have to figure out how to make them work together. And right now, I feel like sometimes they're just thinking so more. They're just not. Almost feels like they're just trying to like make something happen the way they think it should happen versus maybe the system that they should be playing. I don't know. It just kind of feels like they've it kind of at times feels like they're just going out there and freelancing.
And that's what that's what you're staring at here coming up for this particular matchup against Cincinnati. So that's where we are. Just so everybody knows, what we'll do is we'll go over all the juice boxes here for the matchups on the weekend, specifically involving Atlanta and Cincinnati. Atlanta United is favored in this one at a plus 138. Your draw is a plus 262. And FC Cincinnati on the road is a plus 173. It is going to be Guido Gonzalez Jr. in the middle, Jason White, Tyler Wyrostic, and Pierre-Luc Lazier, your ARs in your fourth. Greg Dopka and Fabio Tovar are upstairs. And so that's what you're staring at for the last matchup of the weekend involving Atlanta and FC Cincinnati on SNS on Apple TV. So let's run through all the others and get Jarrett's quick thoughts on everything else that is happening this weekend. Starting off, Seattle and FC Dallas. Seattle's a big favorite at a minus 250. FC Dallas was involved in Open Cup, losing in PKs where people actually hit PKs for the most part.
Yeah, give me Seattle here. And Seattle's weird. I'm sure Nico will let you know about Seattle.
Seattle at a minus 250. Your draws a plus 363. It is in the middle. It is Alan Chapman in the middle for a 310 kick at Lumen Field. Mike Nickerson, Nick Balser, Alexis De Silva, your ARs in your fourth. Chris Penso and Tom Supple are upstairs. Also on the board at 445, which means 455. This is the Super Hyper Mega Fox pregame show. San Diego FC and LA Galaxy. San Diego's a minus 147, draws a plus 313, and LAG is a plus 345.
They're not getting the win here.
No. John Freeman's the man in the middle. Kyle Atkins, Corey Parker, Eligio Otegin are your ARs in your fourth. Soren Stoichka and Jonathan Johnson are upstairs. CF Montreal and LAFC. This is a weekend where you have the matchups coming out of Open Cup and you're dealing with the extremes, it seems like. CF Montreal, a big underdog at home at a plus 224. Draws a plus 244. LAFC is a plus 180.
Yeah, take the LAFC plus number against the Montreal team that just lost in Canadian to
Ford.
Who did they? Yeah, Forge. Thank you. They lost to Hamilton Forge, which is kind of like losing to Toronto's. For those of you that don't know, Hamilton, not far, just kind of southwest of Toronto.
Yeah, on the Golden Horseshoe. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Rubiel Vasquez, man in the middle. Jeffrey Greason, Oscar Mitchell Carvalho, Renzo Villanueva are your ARs in your fourth. Soren Stoichka and Corey Rockwell are upstairs. Yeah, this is a weekend of the extremes. Charlotte and Crew, by the way, this one will be interesting. Charlotte's a plus 170. Draws a plus 254. Crew are a plus 144.
Crew.
Lucas.
I believe in the Crew.
Yes, Lucas Zapala's in the middle. Corey Richardson, Nick Uranga, Corbin Mayer, ARs in your fourth. Remy Tuchon and Claudio Badea are upstairs. DC and Red Bulls. One team made PKs, the other did not. DC is favored at home, believe it or not.
They made one more PK. Let's not pretend like DC was putting them in the back of the net, because everybody in that DC game who stepped up to take a PK looked like a baby tortoise trying to cross 285. They looked terrified.
Awful.
They had all the confidence of those of us in the media game.
DC United a plus 148, Red Bulls a plus 172. Red Bulls made PKs against FC Dallas, and Emil Forsberg got the clincher, and AJ Marcucci came up big for the save at the end. Draws a plus 241. So DC favored at home against Red Bulls. Both teams played in the Open Cup midweek.
Man, here's the thing. This is Red Bulls for years, John, is that Red Bulls will go through a summer swoon where they will just like collapse under the weight of their own existence for like a month. Mm-hmm. This happens with these energy drink teams. Like Cincinnati will do it too at some point. Yep. Philadelphia has been known as well. They'll just go through 4 or 5 games where they just look bad. Mm-hmm. And you can't predict when it's going to happen. And you just wait for them, and they will eventually. But give me Red Bulls on the road.
And as he clears his throat, because so Red Bulls, it's Malik Badawi in the middle, Matthew Nelson, Megan Mullen, Lorenzo Hernandez, your ARs in your fourth. Jorge Gonzalez and Jonathan Johnson are upstairs. Purple team in Portland. Purple team's a minus 152. Your draw's a plus 319, and Portland is a plus 354. I would probably also take the purple team on scoring 3 because that seems to be their magic number these days. I would say that Orlando City scores 3 at home against Portland, and probably take the over at 3.5 or 4.
I'll take the over, but I might take Portland on that because it's in Portland.
No,
right?
it's in.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking it was. I'm so sorry. Give me Orlando. I was like, that's such a long ass trip, and contrary to what we think about on the East Coast, coming west to east is a little bit trickier. Is the way your body clock works.
3.5 is 3.5 is a plus 124. By the way,
give me Orlando, and give me all those people, and give me the receipts on all those people in Orlando who, like a year and a half ago, were at the end of the season, going into 24, we're talking about how they needed to move on from Oscar Pereira when he has been the absolute rock that's been missing since that club started with Inchy back in the day, and they were the cardiac cats.
Yes. Jair Marufo in the middle, Eric Weisbrod, Kevin Klinger, Ricardo Montero Araya, your AR and your fourth, Kevin Terry Jr., Joshua Patlack are upstairs.
Michael, I need you to know I'm not leaving. Moving. I'll still be on. I'll still exist.
Yes.
I'm not going to vanish from sight.
No.
I'm just moving to the side of God's time zone, which is technically the central time zone, but I'm going to be time zone.
Yes.
So I won't disappear forever.
No. So it'll be soccer out west for Jarrett when he heads to Utah in a little bit. Also at 7:40, Union and Messi and friends at Chester. Union are a plus 117, draws a plus 265. Messi and friends are a plus 204. It was announced this morning. Jonathan Tannenwald said that Javier Mascherano, in his pre-match presser, said that Messi and Suarez were coming to Philadelphia to be a part of that particular matchup. So you're going to have most of the Gulfstream Galacticos there. Drew Fisher's the man in the middle, Michael Barwagon, Laius Arfa, Luis Diego Arroyo, your ARs and your fourth, Kevin Stott and Mike Camp Minert are upstairs. Jarrett, what say you?
Philadelphia, and more pressure on Javier Mascherano, who, it's weird, man, because like early in the season, I thought he had them better defensively. I thought mid-year, like even they were winning games they didn't necessarily, they weren't the better team in, and they were gritty and a pain in the ass to play against, getting enough offensively. But now they're not. And I don't know what all is changing there, because I really liked what he was doing early in the season, and it has faded from existence, and I don't know what to think. Give me Philadelphia there.
I think that's probably the play in that one. The last 7:40, Toronto hosting Nashville north of the border at a plus 166. Nashville's a plus 152. Favorited slightly. Draws a plus 246. Armando Villarreal's the man in the middle. Gerard Kader-Lebuy, Ben Pilgrim, and Scott Bowman are your ARs and your fourth. Eunice Morakchi and Joseph Batko are upstairs. Basically, yeah. Minnesota and Austin at 8:40. Minnesota on the minus.
It's not going to be fun. It's fun.
Oh.
I get this thing where people love watching Minnesota.
They don't want.
I get it that they win.
Yeah.
They win with like percent possession, and it is just strictly sit back and counter ball, and they're so composed defensively. That part is very impressive. You don't get a lot of action except in those moments, because they don't let a lot in, but they're gonna pick their 2 or 3 times a game to go find something. It's not my favorite, but it works for them, and Austin is all you really need to know about Austin is that was Atlanta's best game.
Yeah.
And I thought Atlanta was actually pretty solid in that game.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Joe Dickerson's the man in the middle at Allianz for that one.
He'll be fine. There's no one there he's going to really get in a fight with, and it's whatever.
Cameron Blanchard, Logan Brown, Ismir Pekmich, your ARs and your fourth, Chris Penso and Tom Supple are upstairs. Colorado, Sporting in New England. We had Arena Bowl 1 last week with
that's New England.
Yes.
New England, like Atlanta got New England right. That Atlanta New England was like someone like the butterfly flapped its wings when they decided to overturn Miguel Almiron's goal in England, and New England goes and gets a penalty and beats Atlanta in that ugly ass game where Caleb Porter just refused to play. The butterfly flapped its wings, New England up after that. Honestly, that's the kind of game I kept waiting for Atlanta to have. A game where they found a goal, they had a call go in their favor that absolutely should not have gone in their favor, and then they rode a horseshoe in for 90 minutes and then woke up. That's kind of what I was waiting for Atlanta, and hasn't happened yet, and they haven't really earned it yet either, Austin being as close as they've. New England woke up after that.
Yep.
Atlanta's kind of needs a game where you don't deserve to win. You might get some help from the whistles in the process, and maybe a BS penalty. Actually, that penalty, not to say that penalty was BS, but like a penalty to like just kind of fudge you across the line. Because New England woke up, Sporting got that new manager bounce, but dead cat bounce is still a dead counts bounce, brother.
Yep. Sergi Boyko in the middle, Walt Heatherly, Kevin Locke, Brandon Stevish, your ARs in your fourth. Katya Koroleva and Brian Dunn are upstairs. Colorado in all caps. Colorado at a -114. Your draws at +290. All caps at a +266. And we wonder about.
I don't trust all caps to save my life, dude. I'll have to like burn down the whole house for the insurance money.
Yeah, Luch Pfannenstiel, Olaf Melberg. Keep an eye on all of that stuff.
Yeah. The reports are there. The reports are there that Melberg on the block. Look, they never spent big money. They spent a little bit in the offseason, but go back to when they started, and like it's fun for them when they were convinced, when they were like Jedi mind tricking other teams to literally pass them the ball, and they won the West. That was fun. But then it crashing down, and I know Nick and I have talked about this. This is a team in St. Louis, and Nick's mentioned it. This is a team that has wasted that expansion money. Because remember, when you're an expansion team, you get the extra money, you get the extra little wiggle room, build something big. Atlanta and LAFC both took advantage of it and took home hardware in the process because of it. St. Louis is wasting. They have no identity. Not unlike a team nearby to your heart.
Yep.
Their culture is kind of like you don't really know what it is right now. If it sounds familiar, it's because it feels familiar, but at least you got hardware here. Mm-hmm. Multiple pieces of hardware. St. Louis doesn't even have that.
Nope.
And I don't know what they are or what they want to be, man.
Other than ultra defensive and not score goals.
And they're not even great at being ultra defensive. Let out 3 goals in the Open Cup against Minnesota.
Yeah. Tori Penso in the middle, Brooke Mayo, Catherine Nesbitt, Marcos de Oliveira, your ARs in your fourth, Daniel Radford and Robert Schapp are upstairs. RSL in Vancouver, RSL at home a +150.
Vancouver on the road.
At a +160, and the draw's a +260.
Don't care. Supporters Shield winner, Vancouver Whitecaps. Give it to me, baby.
Philip Dujic in the middle, Felicia Mariscal, Diego Blas, JC Griggs, your ARs in your fourth. Ismail Elfath is your VAR, and Andrew Bigelow is also upstairs. 1040, San Jose and Houston. San Jose is a +108. Your draw is a +262, and Houston is a +231.
I don't trust Houston.
No, not on the road either.
No, and San Jose will create a metric ton of chances. I know saying that will trigger people left, right, and center.
Yeah.
But man, yeah. I'll take I'll take San Jose. They'll create enough chances to get it done.
Sergei Demyanchuk is in the middle. Chris Elliott, Stefan Tanaka-Freund, Ricardo Fierro, your ARs in your fourth. Eunice Maracci and Mike Kampmeinert are upstairs. Sunday, NYC hosting Chicago Fire at a -102. Your draws
Button Berhalters
at a +241 at
I will take a plus 241.
At Yankees.
NYC is weird. NYC might drop a thing on them, but NYC is a wildly unpredictable team.
Rosendo Mendoza is in the middle. Adam Winkowski, Gianni Facchini, Thomas Snyder, your ARs, and your four, Jorge Gonzalez and Joshua Patlak are upstairs. What else is on your mind before we get into all of the news before we get out of here?
One of the ones I want to keep an eye on, and we talked about, on the road. Charlotte in a weird spot ever since they got to the top of the East. I feel like what I suspected early in the season is coming to pass for Charlotte, which was they weren't creating enough, and your goalkeeper was standing on his head way too often, and you were still giving up way too many shots, and Wilfred Zaha hadn't come good, and you're still kind of in that situation if you're Charlotte. If they lose it, and I know it's Columbus, but if they lose this weekend, not heads are going to roll in Charlotte. Yeah. I'm confident saying
they will continue to complain like nobody's business. However,
they will, and it'll get a little. I want to see how it gets a little dicey over there because Wilfred Zaha is not afraid to open his mouth. He's been physically demonstrative against his own teammates, and it's very weird. Go back to when they played Nashville, and they beat Nashville at home. Nashville's the team that Charlotte's kind of scuffled out a bit, and Nashville looks like BJ Callahan has got something real working over there in Nashville. Yeah. And all the credit in the world to him and to them for giving him the time and pieces to make that work.
Absolutely true. Let's see. So, quick news out of FC Cincinnati involving your favorite player. Yuya Kubo, according to Pat Noonan, is day-to-day, aren't we all? With discomfort behind his knee and tightness in his lower leg. This comes from Laurel Failer, and if you missed that interview yesterday, dial it back on the network. Test results showed no signs of a long-term injury possible. Kubo could be available for Sunday's match at Atlanta. However, he was out of training yesterday for a third straight day today. Noonan said he had some discomfort behind his knee. Results came back positive in that regard, so it's nothing that's going to keep him out for a while. Was a couple days inside to take away some of that discomfort, and then he had some pain in his calf, Achilles area. It was more tightness, so it was let's get day by day with Yuya and make sure there's no setbacks that are long-term. That doesn't look to be the case, so hopefully available for the weekend, but if we need to give it a couple of extra days, we will, end quote. Everybody else got through hell is real. First 2 days of training this week without issue, so if nothing changes, according to Laurel, Kubo could be the only one on the injury report when it's released ahead of Sunday's match after Atlanta. Wednesday against FCD, May 31st against DC United. Not looking past Sunday with lineup decisions, Pat Noonan, but will rotate as needed after that. So those are the quick notes from our friend Laurel Failer about Cincinnati as they get ready to take on Atlanta here for Sunday night soccer. What else is on your mind before we hit news and get out of here?
Nothing really. Just it's Sunday night. Enjoy the Saturday games.
Yes.
Nobody has to worry about Saturday.
Well, yeah. You can catch your favorite lower division teams starting tonight. Decatur FC and Drew Dickinson and I will be on the call for Decatur FC and Union 10 out of Daphne, Alabama in the WPSL. So that'll be the start of the season over at Decatur High School tonight, 7 o'clock kick. So we'll be over there for that one. Enjoy your lower divisions and your other today, since you've got a Friday and a Saturday waiting for Atlanta United on Sunday Night Soccer.
Yeah, Atlanta United 2 is once again moved.
Oh, yeah, we forgot to talk about that.
Oh, my God. The following comments do not represent SDH nor the Atlanta United Club nor anyone else associated.
Yes.
And are the thoughts of the person who is speaking, who is 12 hours out of anesthesia. 4 hours out of anesthesia, excuse me. I don't know how you continue the partnership with Kennesaw going forward. I don't know where you play. I don't know how you continue it. Second time in 3 years you've had to cancel or move games that you're playing home games on the. They played in Charlotte this last week.
Yep.
At the that was technically a home game. Correct. Now you're playing another home game on the road because the field is in just too shitty a shape. And they're changing it. They're doing field maintenance. Yes. They do it every year. Yep. but you cannot have a partnership with you cannot have a partnership like this where you are sacrificing home games. I don't know, man. I don't know how you keep it with Kennesaw going forward. And I don't know where you go. I know it's romantic to talk about Herndon Stadium. There's a non-zero chance you'd have to knock the whole damn thing down and redo it.
Yeah, that is an 8-figure rebuild.
Yeah, and I get it. It would be romantic and fun. I would 110% support it. But there's a non-zero chance structure to knock the whole damn thing down, level it out, and just redo it from the ground up. It's a lot of money and it's a lot of time. You don't do that overnight. Georgia State would be an option, but their football line's sewn in. Georgia State soccer plays over at the old football training ground underneath the MARTA tracks. I don't know where you would play. Silverbacks Park is occupied all of the damn time. Plus, I don't think anybody actually wants to deal with trying to deal with Boris over at Silverbacks Park. I don't know where you play, but it's. I don't know what to do, man, because you cannot keep having games get canceled. For the second time in 3 years, the field is unplayable. The second year out of 3 years, you've had games canceled because the field's unplayable. It's not acceptable in an agreement. Again, this is just me speaking. Do not represent anybody.
Right.
I hate on the road. I like going. The home games are great. And generally, it's just SDH there, which is great because that means when we get to sit down after the game with Steve Cook, it turns into a 1-1. Nobody else is there to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate that they're losing home games for this because that team deserves better. Because as much as that team has been maligned over the years and their results have deserved a lot of they've gotten, they're fun to watch this year. They got a lot of draws that they need to learn how to turn into wins, which is a conversation you can have with Steve Cook about that, as teaching these guys to finish games off, to win games, because they had the lead in Charlotte, lost it, went down, came back and tied it, and Rodrigo Neri had 4 chances to win that game and did not take any of them, and Steve Cook had to be punching objects when that happened because he was set up to win that game like 3 or 4 times, and it drove me insane, and I wasn't even coaching.
There's a reason that George Marks ended up getting player of the match according to Apple TV.
I mean, yeah, it's
8 saves, 3 of them in one
sequence. Yeah, it was acceptable not to have scored in that sequence. That was not acceptable. But they play their ass off. They play with a level of swagger and a level of FU that you want to see from the first team. Not even joking. So, go support the Twos when they're in town.
Yep. So that is going to be at Osceola Heritage Park, and it's going to be behind closed doors, by the way.
Abby, that also happened in 23 twice. Because one time, Jason and I called the game. We had made an agreement to call the game for 92-9 the game.
Mm-hmm.
We showed up. The field was in such terrible condition you couldn't play on it. They moved it to the training ground behind closed doors. Then they played another game that same season at the training ground because the field was not in condition to play.
Yep.
Not a single soul was happy about that.
Yep.
So, second time in 3 years that it's happened, and second time in 3 years that it's happened for multiple home games.
And so, obviously, we get to keep an eye on that going forward. So, what are you going to be doing other than
recovering?
So is the picture of you exiting the doctor's office and the rearrangement of your fingers, is that on social media anywhere?
No.
Okay. You don't want to send people scurrying for the exits.
I mean, there's not much to like. It's just bandaged up.
Yeah.
At this point, so like I'm out of mission from sports for a while.
Yes. One of the more unique breaks known to mankind.
Yeah. All I did was break my damn pinky. Broke it in a way that like basically broke it on the joint in a way that like I couldn't bend it anymore. So like the bones were out of line, and I had to have it surgically repaired with pins. They ended up screw in. But yeah, like the doctor comes back and is like, I do a lot of these, but that was you made me work for that one. So that was fun.
God. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I'm. So that was the weird part is they gave me a nerve block, so my entire right arm.
well, it's probably for your benefit, I would think, at this point.
It is.
Just go celebrate, my friend, and just celebrate and enjoy the fact that the surgery has happened and that you are. Yeah, he needed us. It was so. Jarrett, go ahead and tell Abby how you injured. What you injured.
Oh, we were playing softball and I slid on a muddy field into second base and like stopped short. And when I reached out for the bag, I was closer than I thought I was and basically rammed my pinky into the bag at a bad angle and snapped it. But I snapped it at the joint, so like my metacarpal and my phalange were basically out of line, so they wouldn't bend.
Yeah. Oh, that's the heebie-jeebies. Damn. All right. So be safe, my friend. We'll catch up soon. Thanks for hopping in and rolling through MLS with us.
No.
All right. So there goes Jarrett, and so Jarrett is going to go recover. And oh my, that gives me the willies. Oh, gives me the absolute willies. Okay, so before we get out of here, let's go through all the headlines and all the news that's fit to print and get you ready for the weekend. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Okay, so we mentioned Manchester United and all the discussions after the Europa League final. Next week, by the way, is the Conference League final with Chelsea and Real Betis. It appears, according to James Ducker at The Telegraph, Manchester United could axe as many as 200 jobs today. People are going to find that out. 250 shed last summer in the first wave of redundancies, now up to 200 more staff set to be axed as a part of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's, quoting Ducker, ruthless drive to save money and reduce costs. Staff are braced for swinging cuts across an array of football and non-football departments, scouting, analysts, and commercial, as United streamline operations. Some staff already know they're going, while others are waiting to discover their fate. United's director of scouting, Steve Brown, leaving at the end of next month, end of the fiscal year, as a part of extensive changes to the recruitment strategy. Already taken steps in recent years to reduce the number of scouts, but the existing global network of 80 will be further reduced. Cuts to the analyst department at senior and youth levels are also anticipated. Longest-serving employee, Marie Marin, was told that at risk of redundancy. She's been at United for 47 years, initially serving as personal assistant to the then-club secretary before becoming a central figure in the first team's logistics and a key liaison with UEFA, the Premier League, and the Football Association. Anger and resentment toward the club's ownership among rank and file very much evident at a staff screening of the Europa League defeat by Spurs. When Ratcliffe and Avram Glazer appeared on the screen at the event at a warehouse, boos rang out among the crowd of employees and their families. Hundreds of staff and their loved ones were present. Ratcliffe has claimed the club would have gone bust by Christmas. You remember that interview? Without the severe cost-cutting, United have made losses of £313 million over the previous 3 years. Reported the club are set to post a third-quarter loss for this season of £40 million in the coming weeks based on a consensus of Wall Street analysts. Failure to qualify for Champions League and Premier League are anticipated to cost the club more than $150 million in prize money, broadcast income, gate receipts, and penalty payments. Went ahead with a barbecue at the club's Carrington training ground last night, organized for players, first-team staff, and families. Regardless of the outcome of the Europa League final, more fan protests are planned. So it looks like it is just the absolute beginning of the continued suck at Manchester United. There's talk by pundits that Amorim should be let go. You've got, let's see. And then you have just as many pundits who sit there and say that you can't rip up the experiment. Apparently, Yeonmin's son has a battle scar. Spurs ran out of medals, or they ran out of medals. UEFA ran out of medals to give Spurs in the celebration, and apparently the trophy hit Yeonmin's son in the forehead, and he's got a battle scar now for that. So there's that. Out of the Guardian, Kieran McKenna at Ipswich said that Liam Delap is being looked at by a couple of clubs. He admitted that openly. Xabi Alonso is poised to take the Bernabeu job after the club has now confirmed the Carlo Ancelotti exit. Let's see. What else is going on the day? Let's see. So that's 2 papers down. Let me check the third newspaper that we always roll through. And See if there's anything in the Times. Thomas Tuchel has given Ivan Toney a shock recall, in the words of a lot of folks. Jude Bellingham has a shoulder injury. Trevor Chalobah, no place for Jared Bowen or Dominic Solanke. So keep an eye out on that one as well. Let's see. And I think that's it for like news. Yeah, the 80 million pound black hole for Manchester United, according to Martin Ziegler, it is 70 million they would have guaranteed for qualifying for Champions League, would have eased financial pressures. Failure to qualify for Europe for the first time since 14-15 means income the club previously relied on will not be there. Earned 30 million from Europa League and UEFA TV money, according to Swiss Ramble. Also likely to see a drop in match day receipts of about 20 million, with probably 5 fewer home matches at Old Trafford. 10 million pound penalty clause on the deal with Adidas for failing to make Champions League, and it will also apply to any future season they are not in the competition. The club's 16th place finish in the Premier League means that they would earn about 22.4 million in prize money and TV money less than last year when they finished 8th. So think of it like 3 million a slot. So they were in 8th last year, 16th this year. So that's what, 8 times 3, 24. So roughly 22.4. Finals match of the season against Aston Villa, who need victory to qualify, could make as much as 5.6 million pounds difference in merit money, depending on United's final place in the table. So that's Martin Ziegler on the story with Manchester United. Garnacho's future is in doubt after a clash with Ruben Amorim, where apparently he used the term, it was an ish season, but he didn't use the word ish. Let's see. And so that is the runaround of all of the overseas news for the morning. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo involving players and such before we get out of here. And Abby with some important news. Missed most of the show for a phone call involving the HOA. Halftime meetup outside the rim near 132 Sunday. Factions recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month. Scarf hanging over the spike in place of having someone carry it. You can pick up a green ribbon at the tailgate recognizing mental health awareness, as that is huge these days because you don't know what others are going through. And it doesn't hurt to ask how someone is and listen to their answer. Don't just accept the answer. Listen to the answer. Manchester United have prioritized the sales of Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho as well as Antony. Manchester United also will turn down any approaches for Bruno Fernandes. Al Hilal eager to sign him before the FIFA Club World Cup. They're also set to sell Tiro Malacia, who won the Eredivisie title on loan at PSV Eindhoven. Ruben Amorim has a summer transfer budget of a little less than £100 million, and it looks like 62.5 of that's going to go to Mateus Cunha. So he has the backing of the boardroom after the loss to Spurs. Millwall and Saudi boxing power broker Turki Al-Sheikh are understood to have held talks over an investment in the side. That's from the 4-letter paper. Leicester City's Jamie Vardy is a target for Valencia. That's a 3-letter paper. Newcastle have beaten Barca and Real Madrid to the signing of 18-year-old Spanish winger Antonio Cordero from Malaga. Liam Delap has held talks with both Chelsea and Manchester United about a potential move. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Victor Gyökeres's uncle says that he's made a decision during family dinner to snub Manchester United and Arsenal to stay at Sporting, 3-letter paper. Spurs are hopeful that their Europa triumph will convince Crystal Palace's Mark Gahey to join them in the summer. Daniel Levy thanked Ange Postecoglou in a speech. Believes the trophy can put Spurs on the road to the very top. Forest are monitoring developments with Leicester City's 17-year-old English forward youngster Lorenz Hutchinson, 4-letter paper. Spanish former Liverpool winger Albert Riera is a leading contender to become the next Hull City manager as they continue to roll through managers, kind of like a lot of teams these days. It's like, oh, time to change. As always, it's been a fantastic week. Tonight, once again, it'll be Drew Dickinson and myself over at Decatur FC for their season opener, their home opener against Union 10 out of Daphne, Alabama. 7 o'clock will be the broadcast start. Probably on a couple minutes early to break it all down for you. So follow along on Decatur FC's social media and on the WPSL website. And you can listen to all the activity that is there involving that and Maddie Cruz keeping an eye on everything going on with Georgia Impact up in Canton. And so you can see what's been going on with them as they had their intra-team scrimmage the other day. They're getting ready for their season. I think their first matchup actually is against Chattanooga FC. And so it's going to be a big blast to start the season. So WPSL underway. You have a chance on Friday and Saturday to kind of keep an eye on the lower divisions, getting you ready for Atlanta United and FC Cincinnati in the Sunday night soccer broadcast. For those of you that are looking at the other divisions in the U.S. outside of the outside of Major League Soccer and Division I, USL Championship, I know that that's got some interest. Detroit and Charleston, 4 o'clock start, and that one is at Keyworth, Rhode Island, and Pittsburgh. The Hounds are AFC's favorite in that one. Lexington and Tampa Bay, the Miami FC, Birmingham Legion. Once again, Keeler Hodges and our friends from the USL show will be with us Tuesday morning at 10:30, last Tuesday of the month for their drop-in. Orange County, Colorado Springs, Monterey Bay, Lou City, Oakland Roots in New Mexico, Vegas Lights in El Paso, and then they are done until the midweek when they have a couple of midweek matches there. So it's a big. It's 8 of the matches tomorrow that are laid out for you there in USL Championship. Also in USL League One, for those of you that have the opportunity to watch matchups there. Once again, part of the schedule tomorrow. Forward Madison and P-Hop go at it. Tormenta hosting Red Wolves. AB Alta hosting Charlotte Independence. Like I said, that's just part of the schedule. So support your lower divisions, as we always do, and we always like to let everything happen in and around the Southeast because it is more than just Division One. It's about everything from the grassroots on up. It was great to have Davis Grizzard joining us this morning to break everything down with what's going on with the financing of the MLS Next wing of Chattanooga FC. And you got the women's team. We caught up with Marin Butler earlier this week to find out about their season kicking off. A lot of things going up in Chattanooga, and it's always great to catch up with our friends up there as a part of the larger picture. It's been a very, very busy week. We had Laurel Failer come on yesterday. If you missed that interview with everything going on, our opposition research involving everything FC Cincinnati, Nino and Nico were yesterday. Campbell Chapman, the head coach at Decatur FC, joined us also yesterday. It was Dylan Butler and Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes. And it was also a chance to catch up with some of the high school coaches who won titles. We did that back on Tuesday. And also it was a chance to catch up with Abe and Bart at the beginning of the week and all the programming that we have across all of the different platforms here every single time out. We can't do it without you and all the support that you give us every single time. So I cannot thank all of you enough for everything that you do here to make SDH sing the way that it has here as we're in season number 8. So enjoy your matchups on Friday and Saturday, getting you ready for everything going on this weekend. Sunday night soccer, Atlanta United, FC Cincinnati. We'll see a lot of you at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So for everybody here at SDH, everybody that joined us this week, mucha platiel, play it safe. And since it is the end of the week, this is how we wrap things up. Play it safe, everybody. We'll see you soon.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours, be